Okay, here's a question from Ran, and he wants to get a better understanding of these symbols here and icons, what they mean. So let's take a look at that. Let's quickly review what these tools can do. Each one of these icons is a tool, and hovering over an icon will give you a quick explanation. Custom toolbar, I'll explain that in a second. Ripple edit and a ripple delete, we understand that. The cursor, we will get into the various functions there. We have the magnetic timeline, and doubling up on that is the enable link. In other words, not only act on the track 1, but also act on the tracks 2, 3, and anything above and below. And then finally, these two icons here is undo and redo. These are standard keystrokes in Windows, Control-Z and Control-Y. Likewise, if you hover over some of the others, you will see that there are keyboard shortcuts for them. The magnetic timeline, to enable and disable, just press the letter P on the keyboard. And here it's a shift hyphen, not so easy, but anyway, that's what that is. The ripple does not have a shortcut key, and the it doesn't look like the changing of the cursor either has a shortcut key. So basically, that is an overview of that, but now let's give an explanation as to how each of these functions work. And we'll simply start with the custom menu. This is the toolbar menu. You can customize that. You can take something, you can drag it around and so forth when you have the menu activated. And here we go. Here is all of the tools that you can drag up to the toolbar. This should be shortcuts, icons for your frequently used tools, and you can position them anywhere you want. If you like a certain order or whatever. If you want to remove something from the toolbar, you simply drag it down and it's gone. And likewise, if you want to put something up that isn't currently there, then you can just drag it up. Let's see if we can find one that's not up there already. This one's probably up there already. Oh yeah, it's up there already. But the point is, you simply drag it up and then you position it where you want. And then make sure you hit the save button in order to save the changes. And there's a reset here to reset it to the default installation. I'm going to hit cancel, so I have my preferred icons up here already. So that's the custom toolbar. I think these are pretty much self-explanatory. The do and undo, for example, if I delete something or whatever I do, I can undo it. But if I want to redo that undo, I can just use the other icon. So that is the functions of these two, fairly simple. And anybody that's been working with Filmora for a while will understand what this icon is. This is the ripple delete or ripple edit. And that's the older way of doing it. If it turns blue, then it's active. This cannot be active when the magnetic timeline is active. They're mutually exclusive because while they do similar things, they do it in different ways, and therefore you cannot have them both active at the same time. But we understand ripple will probably act on all of the tracks. I can't remember, but I'm going to try it right here. We're just going to do this, and I'm going to press the delete key. I presume that everything is going to shift to the left, but let's see if it does. Yes, indeed, everything shifts to the left. So when using the ripple edit and ripple delete, it will synchronize or keep in sync all of your tracks up and down. So let's just undo that. Now, if we go to the magnetic timeline, however, that is two separate buttons. In other words, they separate the functions of the main track, video track number 1, not audio, not video 2, 3, 4, and so forth. This, when it's active, only acts on this line. So in other words, with this activated, If I select this one and I delete it, we will see that everything on track 2 stayed there. Had there been something on audio, it would have stayed there. Had there been something up above on the other ones, they would have stayed there. So let's undo that again. However, if we activate the link, in other words, we now want the tracks to be linked so that when we make a change on track 1 or video 1, it will affect all the other tracks as well. And again, we will go ahead and delete this, and we will observe that these will move as well. So let's hit the delete. And in fact, what happened there, let's undo that action and take a look at it again in slow motion. We see that this overlapped this particular one. So since the main main track is video 1, it will impact what's over here. It will delete what's up above. And let's observe that again. There we go. We can see that it did impact all the tracks or other tracks as well. So we'll undo, and we will unclick this for now. Now, just keep in mind that when you have the magnetic timeline, you can't select the black spaces. If you deactivate all of these synchronization tools, you now have another option for getting rid of stuff. For example, right here, we can get rid of this blank space by clicking on it because we have deactivated these, and that will then suck it all up. And let's undo that again. Okay, that can only be done if none of these are selected. Okay, that just leaves one important icon, and that is the cursor icon. And by hovering over it, we can see that we have some options in addition to the standard cursor mode. This is the standard cursor mode. We move the cursor around, we select something, we deselect it, whatever. But it has more functions. The cursor can be changed to these other modes. So if we click on this little caret right here, we can see all of the modes. And the first one is the quick split mode. I won't go over the keyboard shortcuts, but they're listed right here if you'd rather use a keyboard. Anyway, this would allow you to quickly shift between modes without having to move your cursor up here to select this mode or that mode. The quick split mode is a handy tool if you want to cut something on the timeline, but you don't want to move the playhead to that location. So you can kind of review things here, and you'll notice that it has two different kinds of images, the razor blade. It's either the standard razor blade or there's the red line through it. If it's over an area where there's nothing to cut, then you will get this red line through it. But we are over something that we want to cut, so why isn't it going to cut? Well, it is very discrete to the specific track that you're working on. If I move the cursor down, it is now active. And you can see we get the little green line. This is where we're going to cut something in there. So this is if you want to split things up without having to move the playhead to different locations, and you can make multiple cuts. So this is a great tool for that. And I believe it was a V to get back. Let's just double check that. Yes, indeed, it's V. Okay. So let's use the keyboard shortcut to go back to the regular. And how wonderful is that? Now we're back. Simply by knowing that keyboard shortcut, pressing V will change our cursor back to the normal mode. Okay, and let's undo some of these actions. So that is the purpose of the quick split mode. Now you have these next two, they're the same. Select all forward, select all backwards. Don't pay too much attention to forward and backwards. In my mind, they're reversed, but that's just the way I see it. Take a look at the arrows. This says select everything forward. That means everything in this direction. And select everything backwards. That means in this direction. Now what we're selecting is not from the playhead, but from our cursor position. So let's try that. So now we have the double arrow and it's pointing in this direction, meaning that we're going to select everything to the left. And if we are over a particular clip, then that whole clip will be included, like so. In other words, it didn't include the clip down below because we weren't hovering above that. And again, just to demonstrate here, we're not hovering above the little thing here in the 2. We're just hovering right here. So now we selected all of that. Okay, we're going to press V, go back to our norm here, and deselect everything. And let's try the other function. If I only remembered the shortcut, Shift A. Okay, this is just simply selecting everything to the back. And again, if I select it here, we will only get those 3. Had I selected it up here, for example, we would have encompassed all of them. Okay, so that is how you can change that. It has one more feature, and that's the zoom level. And that's Z. Okay, the zoom level is actually a very useful tool. Let's say that we're in our normal mode here, and we're over here with the playhead, but we want to zoom in on something over here. Under the old way of doing it, we could either expand the timeline here, or we could expand the timeline just by dragging it up here. So for example, this will make it bigger and this will make it smaller. But you will notice that there is an issue with this old method of doing it, and that is it expands and contracts on the position of the playhead. In other words, if I want to zoom in and see something close up over here, but I didn't move the playhead here, what I'm looking at here when I expand it will get moved off the screen. Watch this. You see how what I wanted to expand on disappeared. Let's do the zoom to fit here, and let's use that tool. Now that's the letter Z, so if you remember that and you want to zoom in on something and you don't want to be repositioning the cursor head or move it off or something, you just do the letter Z, and now we have our zoom level here, and we can now click on it, or well, we can't right click on it. Apparently we can only zoom out, but the point is, or zoom in rather, the point is that we can go to that specific spot where we want to get a little bit closer look right here. Let's see, right here, or was it right here? And we can do that without moving the playhead. And we can always use this zoom to fit timeline where your entire project will fit. And let's press the keyboard letter V to return the function to normal. And that's a brief overview of these cursors, or icons, I should say, not cursors.